So today I want to talk about the recent South Korean presidential corruption scandal that occurred only a few months back. I chose this event because surprisingly not many people knew about it, and so I wanted to inform those people who knew very little to none about this rather historical event. And second, I am South Korean, and although this happened like halfway across the world, I had relatives and friends who were affected by this event, so this meant a lot to me and I felt more passionate about it. I just wanted to learn more. And last, this whole scandal was so entertaining, and honestly I wouldn't be surprised if it turns into a movie one day. So before we get into this, I want to give you a little background information about the president who was impeached. In 1974, Park Geun-hye's mother, Yoo Kyung-soo, was assassinated by a North Korean assassin. And because of this event, she becomes close with Choi Tae-min, who was a cult leader. He invented his own religion in which he mixed shamanism, Christianity, and Buddhism. And he claimed that he had the ability to talk to the dead, which is why they were so close. Eventually, he becomes her spiritual mentor. And rumor has it that Choi Tae-min had complete control over Park Geun-hye's body and soul during her youth, which is why his children accumulated so much wealth. In 1979, Park Geun-hye's father, Park Chung-hee, who was the president at the time, was assassinated. Park Chung-hee hated Choi Tae-min and wanted to have him killed, but Park Geun-hye cried and begged her father to let him live and stay. Ironically, the assassin who murdered Park Chung-hee mentioned that Choi Tae-min's relationship to Park Geun-hye was one of the reasons for his assassination. Park Geun-hye's younger sister and brother wrote a petition in 1990 to the president expressing their concerns that Choi Tae-min was manipulating Park Geun-hye. In 1994, Choi Tae-min dies, and he is succeeded by his daughter, Choi Soon-sil. Remember that name, it will come up a lot, as a church leader and a spiritual mentor to Park Geun-hye. So now, our story begins. So at the end of 2015, two sport foundations were established by major companies, K-Sports and Mir Foundations. Off the bat, there was something very fishy about them. Although they were a startup company, they accumulated $88 billion. Also, they followed the president on her itineraries. So a newspaper company called Hangyeore discovered that a confidant of Park Geun-hye named Choi Soon-sil selected and employed the CEO of K-Sports and publicly exposed Choi Soon-sil's name for the first time. They accused her of being a 비선실세, which translates to an unofficial, influential person. Now, this was a big deal because this was the first time Choi Soon-sil was revealed to be this rich and powerful figure that nobody knew about. So much later on, investigations found that those two sports foundations were actually used for money laundering by Choi Soon-sil using her paper companies, the Blue K and the Wittek Sports in Germany. So next, I want to talk about a person named Jung Yura, who is very important to this case. So Jung Yura was the daughter of Choi Soon-sil. She was admitted into Ewha Women's University with a student-athlete scholarship in equestrian, aka horseback riding. Just to give a little background, Ewha University is a very prestigious school with an acceptance rate of 9.5%. The funny thing is, prior to her acceptance, there were no equestrian programs at Ewha University. Sounds a little fishy, right? But that's not all. While she was a student there, she did not attend any of her classes, but ended up getting B's for the whole semester. When she was threatened to be expelled due to her lack of attendance, the school changed their policies to accommodate for her. This scratched the pride of Ewha students who worked so hard to be there. One day, an anonymous student who took the same class as Jung Yura expressed her anger to her professor, as did many other students, and an investigation ensued. Throughout this investigation, they found out that Choi Soon-sil bribed the president of Ewha University and the admission officer to favor her daughter. Because of this, Choi Yura was taken into custody, as was the president of Ewha and the admission officer. Also, it was found that the two sports foundations said that they were going to do a North-South athletic exchange, but it was found that they only provided money to the equestrian training of Jung Yura. After this incident, an avalanche of evidence started pouring out. However, one stood out in particular and really turned the table. A Korean reporter found a tablet used by Choi Soon-sil, and in the tablet it showed that Choi Soon-sil received and fixed presidential speeches. And that was the first solid evidence that Choi Soon-sil was involved in Korean politics. I guess you could say that this is very similar to the Hillary Clinton email scandal. And this was the one solid evidence that forced Park Geun-hye to make a formal apology.
국민 여러분께 깊이 사과드립니다.
Alright, so now we're going to talk about Samsung and how they're involved in this corruption scandal. Chae-yura exposed Samsung in exchange for her freedom. So the vice chairman and the de facto head of Samsung, Lee Jae-yong, was indicted on charges of bribing Choi Soon-sil and Park Geun-hye. He bought Jung-yura a $3 million horse. And he donated a total of $36 million to the two non-profit foundations in return for political favors. The donations were made to win government support for restructuring Samsung so that it would strengthen his control over Samsung. And of course, after much investigation, he was arrested and sent to prison. And because of the large sum of bribery, he could face a life sentence in prison. And now we're at the climax of the story. After much investigation, Choi Soon-sil was exposed of everything. You can think of Choi Soon-sil as the Rasputin of Korea. She was the puppeteer and Park Geun-hye was her puppet. Every day, she received presidential reports and discussed state affairs even though she held no official government positions. She was given advanced access to presidential speeches and other classified documents. She used her paper companies to launder money using her two non-profit foundations. She accepted millions of dollars worth of bribes, and she abused her relationship with the president to force companies to donate millions of dollars to her foundations. So what was the aftermath? Everybody pretty much got arrested. Park Geun-hye, Choi Soon-sil, Lee Jae-yong, the cabinet members, and anybody who denied the allegations of corruption were arrested. Hundreds of thousands of South Koreans took to the streets to protest week after week. All of the protests were peaceful. They used candles and signs that said, "Impeach or resign Park Geun-hye." On December 3rd, a record number of 2,320,000 people gathered at Gwanghwamun Square to protest using candles. And I'm very happy and proud to say that this was the first time in history where a leader of a country stepped down and there were no deaths among the protesters. And on December 9th, the National Assembly voted in favor of Park Geun-hye's impeachment and suspension of her executive powers by a vote of 234 to 56. On March 10th, 8 justices of the Constitutional Court upheld that vote in a unanimous 8-0 decision. And on March 24th, Park Geun-hye was arrested on charges relating to the abuse of power, accepting bribes, extortion, and leaking information. So why were the people of South Korea so angry with this? Well, for one, when Park Geun-hye was charged with allegations of Choi Soon-sil being her puppeteer, she continuously denied the claim, saying that they were all unverified remarks. It's only when piles and piles of evidence came out when she partially admitted to her crimes. 2. Choi Soon-sil was basically using their tax money for her own good and benefit. 3. This was an embarrassment to other countries. And 4. It made the people question the democracy and made them realize how corrupt and weak their government was. So what now? Park Geun-hye and Choi Soon-sil are still in prison and they're awaiting their verdict. They were put in prison so they couldn't eliminate any evidence or run away. And right now, the new South Korean president is Moon Jae-in, and he strives to move the country in a more progressive direction. And that's about it. I hope you learned a lot from this video. All the sources, all the links are in the description below.